Please stand clear of the doors. Por favor, manténganse alejado de las puertas.
While you're in sunny Florida, be sure to visit
WARlando! Enter into a world of epic adventure.
Hello and welcome to WARlando. This is Adam, and with me as usual is Mark.
Hey, how's everyone doing?
And Nicholas.
Hey, how's everyone doing? Sorry, I'm a different person. I swear. Hi, it's Nicholas.
You're an echo in here. What's going on?
Well, we've had multiple people tell us, Nicholas, that you and I sound like the same person on the show.
Right.
Now just trying to meld everybody into one continuous person.
Right. The podcast is really just one sort of like schizophrenic person having a conversation with himself, talking about all this great wargaming they do with themselves.
Hey, nothing wrong with that.
That's right.
I'm sure a lot of people out there have been having to do that with the situation that's going on in the world. So no worries there.
Yep.
Well, speaking of that, talking about playing at home by ourselves, we just did the Hammertime 7 Warhammer tournament, Age of Sigmar tournament, and all of it over Tabletop Simulator.
That's right. Yeah, a lot of cool things happened during that tournament. So a lot of firsts, first tabletop. First Tabletop Simulator tournament.
That was the first one
that I've done.
Oh, that you've done. Okay, I thought you were saying
like a lot of firsts for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, also getting up at what time to play? Was that a first too?
Well, so the other first was first time playing a tournament, with the English meta.
Yeah.
And so what that meant is first time getting up and playing Warhammer. Not the first time playing at 3 a.m., but the first time starting at 3 a.m.
All right, that's fair enough. Yeah, I think there's been plenty times where we've played with the sun coming up. So
very true.
Right. Yeah. So it was a great time. I had a lot of fun preparing for it. Played a few games for maybe a week and a half or so before it.
Yeah, some practice games, getting ready.
Yeah.
I just exploded a beer in my lap while I'm talking to you guys.
Oh. You were so excited. You were so happy. You were just like,
you're so excited.
Got my paint rag that I keep on the table nearby. It's for cleaning up all my paint spills, and now it's going to clean up this beer spill. I just gotta.
Well, what kind of beer did you spill?
Oh, it's a Lagunitas IPA.
Okay. So.
Yep, and I'm covered in
a good beer, not one you want to water the floor with, but
or
plenty of it out there.
Or my mouse or my keyboard or any of those things.
Gonna have to get you a sippy cup.
I am gonna need a sippy cup.
I think we've all needed them at one point or another.
I was very cautious.
That'd be a great idea for gaming.
Ooh.
So you don't accidentally spill the beer all over the incredibly complex board that's been built, all the terrain, all the miniatures, huh?
Don't they have that already? That baseball hard hat with the straws?
Oh yeah.
Why are we wearing those all the time?
I don't know.
Kind of. Well, it probably makes you top heavy. When you're already leaning over the table, you don't want that extra back pain. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think some proper adult sippy cups, I think would be cool.
Well, what about the Camelback?
Gaming ones.
You guys ever?
Oh, that. Yeah. We definitely did Camelbacks before. I think I've worn a couple of those, into some ball games and some sports events.
What about like a camel fanny?
Oh,
like a fanny pack with a straw.
Yeah, there's nothing weird about a straw coming out of your crotchal region.
No, not at all.
With a beer colored liquid coming up the straw, right? And having a good old time.
You don't want to get it confused with a colostomy bag.
Yeah.
You might have both. You have one going in, one coming out.
Yeah. There you go. Jeez. That sounds more like a still suit from Dune or something. We could even make one of those. It's just The never-ending beer cycle.
Oh, there you go.
Maybe that's what's going to be in the new Dune movie. It's the beer to urine still suit.
Oh yeah! Wow, man.
See, that's the kind. Yep. See that's great for games. That's great for a tournament day when you're just playing all day long.
Yeah.
No,
No breaks whatsogaming.
Right.
No breaks for any reason.
No, that'd be like an Iron Man competition for gaming.
Oof,
Absolutely
yeah.
amazing.
Us gaming nerds already have a reputation for not being that hygienic. We start actually wearing our piss in a bag on our hip.
Well, yeah, they bitch about it.
Will
Why
they
not
be
give good
surprised?
No,
Good Lord.
leaning right into it.
Exactly. Yep. So yeah. So it was a really fun event. So Adam, you and I, we got a little nap in, and then we not together, but socially distance.
Right. You guys were only 6 foot apart when you were napping.
Right.
Exactly. Double masked.
Yeah, two
That
pillows
way-
between you.
Yeah, it doesn't matter who's the big spoon.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
And,
Hey, you're both big spoons in my eyes, fellas.
Thanks.
Yeah. So
yeah.
lay it down. What was the tournament?
So 3-game tournament, and it was run by a guy that's been running these events for every month for the last I guess this is number 7, so maybe he's been doing it for 7 months now, I guess, on tabletop. And we got a pack, and the pack told us, hey, you'll get all the info like the day beforehand as far as like battle plans and all that good stuff. So 3 games, 3 battle plans. It was Star Strike, Blood and Glory, and Total Conquest.
Yeah,
I believe.
that's right. I think Total Conquest was the second one. And
Okay.
then Blood and Glory was the last one. I think so. Blood and Glory.
And then they didn't do Realm of Battle rules, but they did do mysterious objectives, and auxiliary objectives were released the day before. 10 objectives were chosen, and then you can choose going into the game 2 that you want to use. But once you use those 2, you can't, once you choose those 2, you can't choose them later in the day. So yeah, it was great. First time really kind of just, I guess it's my first time doing a tournament with the GHB 2020. Because ever since that's released, I've not been going to the shop to play or anything like that.
Yeah,
so
we've been in lockdown.
yeah, so that was first tournament with GHB 2020, first tournament with the Brits and the Scots and the Danish and the Canadians, the Canucks,
Yep.
and the New Zealanders and all that good stuff, right?
Yeah.
So, first one getting up at 3 a.m. So yeah, a lot of firsts, and my first tournament with the new Cardron Overlords book. So that was my army of choice for this round.
Was it weird going into the tournament with such an underpowered?
Yeah, it was just like, hey, it's going to be an uphill battle all day. I get that. That's all right. Nobody expects them to do well, so we'll just see how it goes. Nobody will be scared, so maybe I'll have this element of surprise. No,
Mark,
the opposite. Everybody hates playing KO, so it's not the hey, let's start a gaming group together army. It's we've been playing for years, so I apologize for this, guys.
Mark, we did a practice game, Nicholas and I, and top of turn 1, before I had any activation of any kind, Nicholas did 71 wounds to me. I take that back. The last couple wounds were done in the combat phase, so I did have an activation. But 71 wounds. Like, he took out 90% of my army in top of turn 1.
Holy hell.
Well, maybe not quite 90%, but 71. Yeah, so about 70%. And, assuming you had 100 wounds in your army or something.
Yeah, that's fair. But what I had left was, like, Marathi you hit for the 3 wounds, and I'm sure there were some wounds lost there that you could have continued to do.
Yeah. So it was only 70% of your army then. What are you crying about?
I know.
Yeah. So that was like definitely the, hey, this was a practice for the Alpha Strike, see what happens. But honestly, with KO, I think the plan is to always try and go second.
You think so?
Because you kind of want your Yeah, and although you're letting the other army buff up and cast their spells and do stuff, going second means that you get to try and control the turn pattern. And you get to decide, you get to try and decide, like, do I get a double? Or even if I win the priority into the second round, am I in like too bad of a spot where I don't want to give them the double next round? You know what I mean? Let's keep just going A, B, A, B, A, B. So I think ideally it's to go second, but occasionally there's that time where it's like, I think if I go first, I might be able to do enough damage that even if I do get doubled, it's not going to be too detrimental,
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Especially for something like Star Strike, where you're not really doing anything the first round. You're waiting the entire round. You're either kind of like positioning, kind of pre-positioning, you know what I mean? Because the objectives don't fall till turn 2, so you don't even know where to go until turn 2. Really,
I'm going to say that one's a lot of anticipation. Of what ifs.
And even Total Conquest, not Total Conquest. Other ones you can't start scoring until turn 2. Not Total Conquest. It was the other one you and I played, Adam, where it was like 4 objectives in the on your side and 4 objectives on the other side, and you got to try to go burn them.
Right. Scorched Earth, I think it is.
Yeah, that one too is like ones like that. You can't do anything until turn 2. So turn 1 is positioning, and then turn 2 is the wham. And so with KO, you don't really want to put yourself out there turn 1 in their field, because then it's like, now you're just asking for them to spend the throwaway turn. Yeah. Just slapping you around. But of course, what do I do? Like every single one of those games, except for the last one, I put myself in their territory, turn 1. And I'm like, hey! No.
Did you really?
Like I had the opportunity. No, I definitely put on the pressure pretty early because I saw the opportunity. The third game, it was more defensive and then waiting for the opportunity to really jump in. But the first 2 games was like, the first one, I saw the opportunity to put on the pressure really early. And then round 2, it was like, I need to put on some pressure because I was playing Lumineth and they're so fast. If I don't put on the pressure, Total Conquest was like, or Blood and Glory, whichever one it is, where you got to control all of them by turn 3 to win. It's like, you don't want to just wait around and let Lumineth surround you with everything. If you wait 2 turns, they're going to surround you with everything. So I kind of made the decision to try and just kind of start with one end of the battlefield and just try and kind of like close in on it, on the rest. So
how'd that work out?
Worked out good.
This was your second game we're talking about. Why don't you talk about your first game?
Yeah. I mean, we can go back, but that was just more of an overview of like card-drawn overlords and what I'm trying to think about when I enter, a game. And I'm trying not to get caught turn 1 in their backfield. You know what I mean? Because it's so easy to move. So anyway.
Yeah. Playing Tabletop Simulator, gotta really highly recommend it. The way I remember the games after the fact, I feel like I was actually there playing. It's such a good, like the physics of the game, like being able to actually pick up the dice and shake the dice and roll the dice, and the way you can move the pieces around, and some of the pieces that you can find to download are, look great and really match the model. It's a great way to play while we're in lockdown.
Yeah, it is. It really is a great way to play. We got to get Mark practiced up, and
you can throw it on your
virtual dice.
You can throw it on your work computer, right? There's no big deal.
No, not at all. But I really enjoyed it watching you guys. That one little practice game that you guys were doing, and it was a Star Strike one that you were playing.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Right? Yeah. Yep. And And who won that one?
I believe Nicholas won that one.
Yeah. And I think it was because you had most of your guys on one side and everything fell on the opposite side of where you were.
Oh yeah,
I am
definitely the hard part about that one.
I'm definitely retiring that particular Daughters of Cain list. It's just as much as I love the classic Hagnar list design, it's just not mobile enough. It doesn't have the opportunity to spread out and take multiple objectives.
No,
like you have to.
Okay.
I just don't think I can. Like I don't. If it had something like a gun hauler, like the KO has, or like just something small and fast that can run around. So maybe I need to put some Doomfire Warlocks in the list, or something like that can run around and flank and actually. Well, it's got the Chimeri Life Takers, which are fast and can drop in whenever. I just don't feel like I have enough of that can actually drop in like I want it to and push something off an objective.
Yeah.
Okay.
But there's a new book on the way.
Right.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah, I'm very excited.
And seeing a little sneak peek that they gave on Warhammer Community, it looks like Hagnar might still be an option.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, you might need to probably shake up the list a little bit,
Yeah.
just to kind of, like you said, fill in the spots that you feel like need filling in.
Yeah.
And I think they said the Hagnar allegiance ability is that you can use the those things that you unlock from turn to turn. What are those called?
The something rights table.
Blood rights or something,
Blood rights, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, something
Okay.
like that.
Something like that. Yeah.
For
so
a guy who's
whatever
been
that,
playing Daughters of Cain for like 3 years, and I don't remember the name of that. That says something.
yeah, Hagnar gets to unlock it a turn early, so you get to unlock each one a turn earlier than the others,
Which is great because that means turn 1 you can get the reroll ones to run and to charge.
right?
And
And then turn 2, re-rolling everything.
Rerolling ones to wound.
Okay.
I'm sorry, to hit. Rerolling ones to hit on turn 2 then.
I thought it was re-rolling everything too.
Yeah. Well, if Witch Brew
I
staying
just keep
the same,
rolling until I hit. You know?
if Witch Brew stays the same, that's what Witch Brew does right now, re-rolling all your wounds. So yeah, it'd be nice. I'm hoping I'm hoping the book treats the daughters kindly, because like they've been putting out on their own website that according to the meta, the Daughters of Cain are at the bottom of the meta. So it'd be nice to see them get just a little bit of a boost, either a points discount or some more powerful punch with those points.
Yeah, sure.
But so what was your take? Your reaction
To doing the tournament?
Yeah.
It was so much fun. I would love to do the exact same thing all over again. It was just great. It was such a weird experience to get up at 2:30 in the morning to go play this virtual tournament, but it really felt like just the whole thing felt like some kind of time travel.
Yeah.
Like to be halfway through game 2 watching the sun come up.
Wow.
Yes, you're right. Things we've never experienced.
Right. All 3 of the games I played were against people either in different time zones or in different states in their own time zone. The first guy I played was a Canadian in Ontario, and so he was in the same time zone, but he stayed up to play in the tournament. He didn't go to sleep and then get back up. So for him, it was still his Friday night, and for me it was like a really early Saturday morning. The next guy I played was in Denmark, so for him, when we played, it was 10 a.m. I mean, it was for me it was like 6 a.m. And then the last guy I played was playing from New Zealand, and so for him it was his Saturday night going into his Sunday morning.
Oh wow.
Yeah, isn't that weird? Like to play
It's so bizarre.
all the way around the world. Yeah, it was time travel. We participated in a time travel tournament.
Yeah. That's so cool.
I was telling Adam, maybe he can like dip into the the time continuum and like re-roll some of those dice to try and see if he can fix the results or something like that.
Yeah. So how was your games? How do they play out, Adam?
Well, I lost all 3, but
Okay.
But I had an absolutely great time playing all my games. So at no point did I feel salty at all. They were all good games, hard fought.
Yeah.
The first one and the last one both came down to either turn priority rolls or where the objectives drop.
Okay.
Yeah, because the first one was Star Strike, and I actually did better because of how the stars dropped than I would have done otherwise, which was nice. They dropped favorably for me. The guy had a great list, and the first 2 guys I played both played Tempest Sai, which is a Cities of Sigmar list that's mostly a shooting list. And I already don't weather shooting very well. To play 2 games in a row against really heavy shooting, it did hurt a little bit, but I think I played the first game really well, and for it to come down to just a couple of rolls, turn priority again, and I felt really good about playing against his list. It was an interesting list too, because he had I want to say 30 Phoenix Guard, the Elf Guards that have great like a 3-up save and a 4-up shrug, something like that. But I was able to block them with my Daughters of Cain that have the bladed bucklers, the Witch Elves with a bladed buckler. So it was this tar pit meeting tar pit right in the middle of the table. So they weren't really a factor because I was able to pick that fight. But he was able to fly around with his gun haulers. He was able to get off the Soul Scream bridge to transport his army around the table.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So he was really maneuverable, and I just have to like march in place. I don't have the maneuverability that he had with his 2 KO gun haulers and having the Soul Scream bridge. He was able to move where he needed to be when he needed to be there.
Yeah. Wow.
But still, it was a really close game. I felt really good about it. Marathi killed a Frostheart Phoenix, which was really satisfying to have it like its ability to debuff your units. I was able to take it off, which I think evened up the game a little bit.
Nice.
Yeah. So again, I lost, but I felt really good about how I played in that loss.
Yeah. Oh, that's good at least.
Yeah.
Hey.
So it was a fun game. It wasn't just like point and click 71 wounds to me.
Yeah. 71. That's. Oh man.
Yeah, how about you, Nicholas? What was your first game?
So my first game was against Skaven.
Oh.
And he had kind of like a shooty Skaven list, which had a couple units of Storm Fiends, a couple Warp Lightning cannons, couple Doom Wheels, and some Warlock Bombardiers and Arch Warlock and Grey Seer. So lots of magic and shooting. And the little guys with the little green balls that they throw.
Oh.
They throw their balls.
Yeah, I keep wanting to call them the Poison Wind Globules, but that's not what they are.
Right. They got like these little green bombs they throw. So
I remember to record that one, but I didn't.
Yeah, so yeah, it was a good game. Let's see, I've got the list right here. I can tell you what it is. It was the Acolytes, Scryer Acolytes. And he had Vermintide Endless Spell and the Soul Snare Shackles. Oh, and he also had Warplock Jezzails. So it was just like everything could shoot. And with the Doom Wheels and the Storm Fiends, I didn't really want to get anything into combat. But so we went, I got to choose, so I chose to go second. So I kind of deployed everything in the back because with KO, you can just fly high anywhere. And so I can deploy back really far. And so I was able to stay out of all of his shooting range. And I was able to hide behind some terrain. So even if he did come through the gnaw holes, he would have been, he wouldn't have been able to shoot me, like get line of sight. And so he kind of created somewhat of a defensive position, but he kind of left one side really open. He knew that I could fly in the hero phase, and I had the Warp Lightning Vortex, but I don't think he put together, and I don't think I have to tell people like my strategy, right? So, came my turn, hero phase. I just dropped the Warp Lightning Vortex around his. He had almost all of his heroes right in range. First turn I took out one of his Bombardier Warlocks and his Arch Warlock. I took out his Acolytes. I put some hurt on the Grey Seer and a little bit of hurt on the Jezzails and Storm Fiends, but that was it. And then I kind of made a real risky move where I'm like I said, Star Strike, play it cool. Just let the first turn go by, right?
Yeah.
And of course, I was like, well, if I put all my gunboats over on this side, I can just put as much firepower into his Storm Fiends and his Doom Wheels. And so that's what I did. And I put one of the ships just too close, and he was able to get into charge range. And I thought he was going to smack right into me, but his Doom Wheel failed and blew itself up.
Because it has a random distance it charges, right?
Yeah, and I think he rolled 2 1s maybe.
Ooh.
Or something.
Okay.
It was a 3-inch charge, whatever it was. He rolled it and he went, whatever, blimey. And he just took it right off the table.
And he was from England, right?
Yeah, he was. And he didn't say that. I just made that up. So he cursed and then took his Doom Wheel off. And that kind of happened a few times. I got one of his other Warlock Bombardier blew himself up because he was trying to cast something and rolled the wrong roll and did D6 wounds, and he was all right, rolled his dice and then just took the guy off the table because he got 6 mortal wounds right there, and it was man. But his Warp Lightning Vortex, or not Vortex, the cannons, the Warp Lightning cannons, man, those things were on fire. They were just if he, the thing with the Warp Lightning cannon is you roll the dice, and then you have to get above that number, equal to or above that number. And if you do, it's like D6 mortal wounds. And so and then I think you can like ramp it up. Like there's something you can do, right? Like one of this.
Yeah, so like more war power.
Something. Yeah. And he can do 2d6, and he rolled 2 1s, which then means he can't fail. So it's 2d6 mortal wounds, and he was just like, so he started taking models off the table from my side, and I was like, why did I do this? Like, why did I just stay back, pick off what I can, like let some time go by. But the objectives just fell my way. So the middle one and mine dropped on the side where I had all those gunships. So he wasn't getting them without going through all my ships and guys. And then I had one ship and a little group of guys over on the other side just sniping off his kind of like the heroes he had in the back, and the objective fell on their side on his end. So it was like the only people he had to go take it were like his heroes. And so it was like his Gracier and whatnot. So it just fell in my favor. So it kind of looked like a heavy-handed win, but he was putting some hurt on my guys, and then everything just landed, for me. So I won that one, a major victory, and I kind of I put a lot of focus on his Storm Fiends, because I was like, got to take the Storm Fiends out first, right? Then take the War Lightning Cannons out second. Then do this, then do that, and it took me all game to take those Storm Fiends out. Those things are just so freaking resilient. It's like 7 wounds apiece. There's 3 of them. That's 21 wounds right there.
Wow.
Yeah.
You got to slam through. So, but anyway, it was a good game. It was a good first game. It was fun. And he was he was great about it. Like his guys like blowing themselves up and stuff. He was laughing. And I mean, I know it was probably frustrating, right? Like first game of the tournament, but he had a great attitude. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love the Storm Fiend aesthetic. These big mutant, like Frankenstein rats running around with guns and flamethrowers, and very cool.
It fits so well.
It's an awesome army. Yeah, it fits the aesthetic.
Yeah.
So
and I love the chance of them blowing themselves up.
Yeah, it's so fun.
And like you were saying, when you're on, you are on, and if not, oopsie.
Yeah, thanks for coming out.
Because Adam, you played Skaven for quite some time.
I did for a long time, and they were a blast. But that was Warhammer Fantasy Battle days.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of crazy stuff that happened, because I played the Orcs and Goblins, which was like the just a green-skinned version. Yeah, because they would always fail their that leadership role they used to have to make. Yeah. Yep. So our games were great.
Fight one another.
Yeah. Our games were great. Like your guys are like blowing themselves up. My guys are failing stupidity tests and just like wandering into the forest and fighting each other.
I love it when you're your own worst enemy sometimes.
Yeah, that's so much fun, because you can have the best strategy in the world, but then sometimes the dice just fail you. Yeah. And at least when the dice fail you with those armies, it's like, it's entertaining.
Yeah, it really is. Yep. Yeah. I love it.
So my second game.
Turn 2. What that look
turn
like?
2. A second Tempest Eye. Cities of Sigmar army, another shooting army, but his army looked completely different, almost completely different than the other guy I played. This guy had the Celestial Hurricanum to help with his magic. He had a Cogsmith, a Lord Ordinator, and a Knight Azeros. He just had a lot of stuff in his hero phase that buffed shooting. He had all these different buffs on his shooting that was, I couldn't keep track of all the buffs. He had 4 Arcanaut Company. This guy had like 20 drops. That's not a joke. He had about 20 drops in his army, because he didn't have a War Scroll battalion to tie it all together. He had 3 Hellstorm rocket batteries. He had 2 units of K-Knight Shadow Stalkers, which I've already ordered mine off eBay because of how cool I thought they were.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, they're the Daughters of Cain Warcry set, but they've got
Oh, yeah.
yeah, they've got this like I already thought their aesthetic was super cool. Now that I know that they're cool in a regular Age of Sigmar game, now I'm like, oh, I have to get them. I have to get them and I have to paint them.
Yeah, nice.
But they get to do essentially what the KO do. They can just disappear off the table and then be set up somewhere else on the table, so long as they're 9 inches away. So they can teleport anytime not into combat, but out of combat. They can teleport and show up somewhere else on the table.
Yeah.
And they're pretty decent in a fight. They have some actual punch to them. And they're 100 points for a unit of 9 of these people. So yeah, he made good use of them too. He was able to show up in my backfield and cause problems for me with them. But this was not a close game at all. I still had a great time. He was a fun opponent. This guy he's from Denmark. His name was also Adam, but his last name was Nyborg. Fun guy to play against. But again, it was just another tough matchup. He had gyrocopters, and Nicholas, the gyrocopter steam gun. I couldn't do anything to get away from it or prevent it from happening. And so these the steam guns roll a die for every model in a unit that it can reach. And I think Nicholas, it's a 5-up, it's a wound. Might even be 4-up. I don't know, with gyrocopter steam guns. Anyway,
yeah, it's 4-up to wound.
Yeah,
3-up to hit, 4-up to wound. Yep.
Yeah, for every model in the unit.
Yeah, that's within 8 inches. So they have to stay 3 inches away. But if you group everything together and they get right up on you, they're going to take if everybody's grouped together, they're going to easily shoot all 20 models.
Yeah, and the battle map had these big rocky pillars on the middle of the map. So for me moving the Daughters of Cain through, I had no option to not clump as I'm trying to get between these two big columns to get the objectives. That's me defending my bad gameplay. But yeah, he was able to get 2 gyrocopters in the one unit to witch elves and take them down to something like 5 models.
Wow.
Yeah, and he had Aether Wings, the gyrocopters and the Aether Wings, like me trying to get across the table to get to his vulnerable heroes and to try and pull his army apart. I couldn't move around them, and I could kill them, but still it takes a whole round of combat to kill him, and that whole time he's shooting at me, between combats. And it was rough. He pretty much tabled me.
Wow.
But again, a really fun, entertaining match. Yeah, I was having a really good time. I was also drinking a lot of coffee, so maybe that was a factor in my enjoyment. I was definitely very amped up for that one. Nicholas, who did you play in your second round?
So second round, I played Lumineth.
This guy you were playing, I think his name is Ben Sava.
Yeah.
And I knew his name. He was one of the only players that I knew by reputation because I'd seen him on the Honest Wargamer. And he won one of their tournaments with Daughters of Cain. So that's how I already knew his name. And so when I saw you were playing against him, I was really excited because this is a really competitive tournament guy that had a reputation for being like a talented strategist.
Yeah.
So how'd it go against him?
Well, I mean, he had a great list, honestly. And he really knew it really well. And that was kind of something that I've learned after the event. Because round 3, I played another Lumineth guy. But round 2, playing Lumineth, it was like everybody's a caster. And then they all have the ether quartz. So apart from, every single unit being able to cast something, every single unit also then has this ether quartz that they can just like unlock abilities on their war scroll, or these abilities come from their battle tome or something. So just having having so many options sometimes can just really slow the game down, right? It's almost like we've talked about this, like those units that have like multiple weapon profiles, and it just you feel like that turn with those guys like shooting or fighting just takes so long because it's like, okay, now I got to roll for this, and then it's got to be a this and a this, and and then you got to measure this, and so, but he played it really well. He knew exactly what he was going to do. He had everything lined up, and he had his plan in place. And I'm a little worried about Lumineth only because I do good at escaping from people, and with their archers they shoot 30 inches and they don't need line of sight, so you can be hiding behind something and they can still shoot you from 30 inches. And their profile gets worse when it's 30 inches, like their attack profile. But really, with Lumineth, you're going for that mortal wound on a 6-up. But then, one like the spell that they can cast is the ability to give them 5-up instead of 6-up. So usually everybody puts that on their their bows. The bows just walk up. It's like those movies. Where it's like you're fighting the bad guy and you're like, we might have a chance, and then all of a sudden he calls the archers up, and then it's just like loose, and it's like, and then you're just like, yep, sucks to be you. So that's usually how I feel like with Lumineth. It's just like, the archers forward, loose, and it's
like that scene in 300. Right.
Yeah, fight in the shade.
Yep.
Let's see let's see what's left afterwards, and then we'll go from there. But so and he also played with one of the endless spells, which was the Hessian Twin Stones, which is a really cool model. It's that endless spell that has like the 2 stones, one's black, one's white, in their painting of it, and they're like circling around each other. And that's pretty interesting. And that was the first time I'd played against that. And so the Twin Stones, you place it down, and then every time you cast a spell, its counter goes up. And once its counter gets to like 4, then you can use that to buff a wizard. So he had this tactic where he would have all of his units casting spells around it. So all of his normal units, like the rank and file guys, are buffing this thing up. And then it gets to 4 really quick, right? Because every unit casts a spell. And so every unit goes, they all cast, and then it's at 4. And then his wizard gets to cast any spell that he wants on a 4-up, a +4. So that was pretty cool. That was a neat little trick that he was. Well, I don't say trick. I mean, that's the purpose of it, right?
Yeah.
So that was really cool what he was doing there. I hadn't seen that yet. And anyway, so he shot my chemist the first round. Oh. I let him go round 1. He did that thing, archers forward, loose. And so they shot him out. They did enough mortal wounds, shot him out of the ship.
Yeah, but something happened, right?
You mean like our little debate?
Yeah. Did it get heated?
I mean, it wasn't like, I wouldn't say heated, because I really try not to get to that heated point. Especially like, first time playing with these guys. I want to play.
You're a gentleman. You want to be a gentleman. It's a gentleman's game.
Yeah. But, so when things come up, you know how it is. Everybody always asks each other, oh man, if it was really soon ago, it doesn't hurt to ask, right?
Well, tell Mark what happened.
So what happened was he goes first. He does all this stuff, blah, blah, blah. He's buffing everything. He brings his archers forward. He shoots over here. He shoots over there. Then he shoots at my chemist, the last unit shooting. Mm-hmm.
And he was in the boat, right?
And he shot the chemist while he was in the boat. And so he rolls the dice. I remember because it was like, I'm watching. He did 4 wounds, like 4 mortal wounds on the shot. The chemist only has 5 wounds. Next one he takes, he's dead.
Yeah.
So now it comes down to what actually hit, not what hit with mortal wounds, what actually hit, on the
right. All right.
He rolled, and I remember this because this is like the chemist, right? He rolled 2 2s and 2 3s. And it was like, God dang, right? 2 3s hit because there are 3 up to hit.
Oh.
He rolls, they wound. I go, and I think I even did like my ether cords to keep him alive, which allows me to re-roll saves. And I fail them both like back to back. And I'm like, dang, he's dead. Take him off. And as I'm taking him off, I go, oh wait, he's -1 to hit in the ship. And he's -1 to hit for being in cover. So I'm sorry, he's -1 to hit because of lookout, sir. And he's -1 to hit because of cover. So those actually wouldn't have hit him. Like what you rolled, the 2 2s and the 2 3s, they would have all missed. And what he did was he just killed my chemist, which means I can't cast my warp lightning vortex. Which is usually my first turn, sort of like throw this in your army and just let it do its work.
Yeah.
And he was like, he's like, well, if I knew that he was minus to hit, like I wouldn't have shot at him. I would have shot at the engine riggers. And and he threw something in there, about like remembering your own rules or something like that. And I was like, hey, I was like, I'm just saying, like, he's minus to hit. I just rolled his saves. Is it too far to go back? And I was like, you know what? And if you wouldn't have shot at him because of that, I don't want to, he was like, well, should I just re-roll on the riggers or something like that? Or re-roll on the chemist? And I was like, no. I was like, you did, 4 mortal wounds, which was really good. And out of 10 shots, right? Or whatever it was, 10 shots with that unit, 4 mortal wounds, 4 out of 10. Like, that was really good. So I was like, no, you can take everything onto the riggers. I'll take the 4 mortal wounds and the 2 normal wounds onto the riggers.
Okay.
And that's 3 guys dead right there. And he was like, fine. And I said, is that okay? And he said, yes. So then that was the end of his turn. And then it turned past to me. So I'm, going through my hero phase, taking my command point, get ready. And I'm like, okay. So I start to move my ship. I'm going to take my single, move in the hero phase for the game to move my ship in range. And I start measuring for the warp lightning vortex. And I start putting the warp lightning vortex down. And then he just starts complaining about, oh, the game's over now. Like, that was the reason I shot the chemist because blah, 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 blah. And so here I am, like, I mean, he's not fully right. Like, the game wasn't over.
Yeah.
But it was going to hurt. This was definitely going to hurt. And I mean, things could go wrong, but things could go really well.
Right.
And so but if you go kind of just on average, like, yeah, he's going to take some hurt in here. And it's going to put a little dent into that side. And so I was just like, hey man, you said that was okay, so that's why I'm doing this. Like you said, it was okay. And then he just was like, it's just, the game's going to be over now, and blah 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 blah. And I said, you know what? I'll take it back if you want. Like, I asked, you said it was okay, but obviously, like, I don't want this to be an issue in the end, so I can take it back. And I was like, it's ultimately my fault for not remembering, during the hits that was happening. And I'll take it back if you want me to. And he was like, well, it shouldn't be up to me. It should be,
yeah,
that's your responsibility. It's your call. It's your responsibility. And I was like, well, you said it was okay.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm here. So we kind of did that back and forth for a little bit. And I could tell, the rest of the game was just going to be shot. And I just didn't want that to be my experience this first time. So I took it back, killed the chemist, restarted my hero phase. But, he kind of heavy-handedly put not everything, he put 60% over onto the right, and 40% over onto the left.
Okay.
And so I just went for the 40% of his army. And I just took everything up the side because I can't lose until turn 3 on that one, right? Because it's take all objectives and win starting in round 3. So I'm like, I got 2 turns where I can just hammer. So I took everything up the right side, and I over the next few turns, I killed everything on the right side and started to move in, and he started to pull towards me, and so the game ended actually in a draw, like even Steven. And a draw is with this tournament was if both of you have 2 objectives, both of you have done your, you both have equal auxiliary objective points, then it ends in a draw. And so that's where we were at. And we didn't actually get to play the last turn because it was like called for time.
Oh, okay.
We talked through it, and it was just like it was like a couple big dice rolls each way to try and make it happen. Because really, at that point, like, I had to push a couple of guys. I had to push like a couple of units off of his, his objectives to have enough bodies. Because that's ultimately what comes down to KO's issue is you just sometimes don't have enough bodies to take it. Yeah. If I don't have, if he's got 10 guys sitting there and I can't push all 10 off, and I only got 2 guys on there, I got a big ship and a big hero. That's only 2 guys,
Yeah.
So that's what it came down to. I just didn't have enough bodies. So we drew.
Okay. Hey.
And so second game was a draw for me.
All right.
That's a big deal because you drew against one of the better players in their tournament scene.
Yeah. So I think there were a lot of good players at the tournament in their meta. But yeah, he definitely, I definitely looked up these guys before I played them and saw that they had played in some other tournaments and did really well. So, which then on round 3, right? It's like, all right, here we go. 1 win, 1 draw. What do I get for round 3? Lumineth.
Yeah.
So there were
do it all
4 players
again.
who say what?
I said, do it all again.
Right, do it all again. And it was 4 players drew that round. And so the two that played each other would then play the other two. And so I didn't play I think the other guy was Sylvaneth, Sylvaneth player. And so I played the Lumineth instead of the Sylvaneth guy. So instead of playing, Skaven, Lumineth, Sylvaneth, I played 2 Lumineth back to back. So I was like, okay, well, at least I got a little bit of practice under my belt from that first round. And this guy, he ended up, so I Googled him. And
you did stop to Google him.
Say what?
You did Google him.
I did Google him. And I couldn't figure out who he was at first. And so I then Googled him after the game. And I found out he was, so for Warhammer for game workshops, like Warhammer Grand Tournament, their GT that they do every year at whatever it is, Warhammer World.
Yeah, Warhammer World, yeah.
250 people play or something like that. This guy came in third at the end of 2019. So the last time they had this event, this guy came in third. And I was like, great, wonderful. So, but this one was Total Conquest or Blood and Glory, whichever one it was. Yeah, Blood and Glory, something where you're going diagonal at each other, 4 locations again.
Yeah.
Hero takes, you get 1 point for the objective. If you take it from your opponent, you get an extra point. And if you have a hero within range, you also can get an extra point. So lots of opportunities to score. He had some like really funky, no, I'd say funky. I mean, it makes sense, but it was this like conga line. I always think conga lines are funky.
Yeah.
So he had this conga line where he basically, on his diagonal deployment, on that right angle, he just basically like put this really long line. And then it's funny because right in the middle is another line leading back to his hero so he can get buffs. Kind of like, Adam with the cauldron, right?
Yeah.
And so I heard somebody call it the butt shield. Because the way it's kind of ends up looking like is like this kind of like, this kind of U and then another U kind of like put up against each other. And anyway, so he deployed the butt shield, but it was a great game. It was a pretty good game all the way until the end. It was a good game, I think.
What happened?
Yeah, it was a lot of back and forth. He really leaned on the, so he had techless on this one and the other guy didn't have techless. So he had techless on this one, and techless gives a lot of area buffs. And, well, okay, so it started, again, maybe it's me. I'm going to say it's me. Here I am, right? Like, the game starts, and he's like, he tells me everything, and I know what's coming up. Techless, when an enemy wizard casts a spell or an endless spell, he can, on a 4-up in 18 inches, that his unit doesn't take the effects, but he pushes it back at me. D3 mortal wounds. So, right, cast a spell at you on a 4-up, I bounce it back to you, roll a D3, you take 1, 2, 3 mortal wounds.
Okay.
Well, it's very specific, I think. The way it's written is the enemy wizard keyword is in the rule. So when I get up and I go, okay, I let him go first, he does his movement, he takes a couple objectives, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I go, hero phase move, I move my ship into place, I cast the Warp Lightning Vortex, and I put it like right there, right in the middle of everything. And then he's like, oh, well, just so you might not want to cast that because, it's like that courtesy thing, you might not want to do that, right? Because remember, I can like blah, 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 and which is a little condescending. Okay.
I thought it was being gentlemanly.
It is gentlemanly. I mean, he just told me that rule. But it is gentlemanly. But it's also like, okay, so I put it there and I'm like, okay, but my guy isn't an enemy wizard. He's a dwarf. He's a chemist.
Mm.
Wizard. There is no wizard keyword anywhere on his board. And he was like, well, that's so then all of a sudden it kind of gets into this like, well, that's not the intention of the rule. Right. And it's like, yeah, but that's not how the rule's written. So like what you want it to be is not how the rule's written. And I'm playing about how the rule is written. And so he calls the TO in. TO is like, kind of hears both sides. And then he's like, he hears both sides. Well, first he hears his side of it and he goes, yeah, I'm not going to allow it. Or I'm going to allow you to still be able to block that spell. And I was like, whoa, wait. But let me at least tell you why I think it shouldn't be that way. Right?
Yeah.
You should be able to hear both sides. So I give my spiel really quick. Basically, wizard is in the spell or is in the rule. My guy doesn't have wizard anywhere on the war scroll. He's not an enemy wizard. It's not cast by an enemy wizard. So so he says, well, in the interest of time, I'm still going to rule the same way. He can block it. And I was like, but whatever, like there's nothing I can do at that point other than bitch and moan. So I still did it anyway because I was already like set up, measured everything, got it in place. When else am I going to use this spell unless I snipe Teclis in the first turn, which, I figured I wasn't going to be able to do in this first turn. And so I was like, well, I'm just going to use it anyway. And, maybe I'll get lucky and take out, maybe it'll just not be a great rule for him. So, and it wasn't really that bad. He threw a couple mortal wounds back at me, but I was able to heal him on the ship the next turn anyway. So that wasn't a big deal. But it did definitely like cut in half the amount of damage that endless spell did. So first turn, again, man, that warp lightning vortex was not effective. And so it only did half the damage that it should have done. And but anyway, so after the game, just to talk about that real quick, I went and looked up because I was like, I knew about this. I didn't think it was going to be an issue, but now I guess I need to go look. And I looked into an FAQ, and they do have an FAQ for it, but not for exactly what I'm talking about. But I feel like the FAQ does talk about the spell in general. And so if I can read it to you.
Yeah, read it.
You let me know what you think, because some of the debate around this is the way that it's written grammatically. Some argue, and again, the English language and grammar is kind of like GW writing their rule set, right? Like much of it is up for debate. So people will say grammatically the rule says if an endless spell or spell cast by a wizard, blah, 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 then you can do this. And some people say, well, that means any endless spell or a spell cast by an enemy wizard.
Yeah.
And then I say, well, no, because there's the endless spell or spell cast by a wizard. So it's like you're talking about two kinds of spells cast by a wizard is what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. And then, easily could have been covered by saying spell cast by an enemy wizard or endless spells, right? Because then there would be that issue. There wouldn't be that sort of grammatical debate. Anyway, so that's my argument for that. Then again, my argument for it is the FAQ says, and this is a new one that came out in February or whatever, beginning of the month, can I use the Seeing Stone of Selenar, which is the rule, to ignore the effects of endless spells cast by friendly wizards boldened as a keyword? The answer is no. So can I use the Seeing Stone? So then the other question would be, can I use the Seeing Stone of Selenar rule to ignore the effects of endless spells cast by enemy wizards? What would the answer be? Yes, right? Because of course, it's enemy wizards. So that's another version of my argument that I'm like, that means they're considering endless spells cast by enemy wizards. That's what they're considering it, right?
Yeah.
If they're telling you endless spells by friendly wizards is a no, so basically saying you can cast an endless spell and then your Teclis doesn't have to worry about stopping it because it's not gonna, right?
Yeah.
Like
it's tricky. It's definitely tricky. Has there been any kind of FAQ or errata from the KO side?
No. There's nothing saying this counts as a wizard. There's nothing in the book that says he counts as a wizard. It just says you can cast the endless spell. It doesn't say as a wizard or anything like that. It just says you automatically cast the endless spell.
It's tricky. I think there's definitely like a gray area there that should have been cleared up.
Yeah, because if he was able to use the rule to ignore the effects on on friendly wizards, then it would be general endless spells. But it's not. It's like, no, you can't use it. You can only use it on enemy wizards. That's the point.
Yeah.
And wizards is a keyword.
Yeah,
and
it
if you
is.
don't support that as with the chemist rule, to me, then what was the purpose of the keywords? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was the wrong emphasis. It should have been cast, should have been boldened, not wizards. So anyway, that's my rant. I'm off the soapbox.
No,
that was round one of the last game. That's it.
That all happened in round one.
Oh man.
How'd the rest of the game go?
So the rest of the game went really well. It was back and forth. I mean, we were just chopping each other's armies up. I mean, it was back and forth, back and forth. We get to the end of the game, and there's 2 turns left. It comes down to like, at the end of the 3rd round, right? It's like, in the 3rd round, I made a stupid mistake. I was just like, I'm having fun all day.
Yeah, it's been like 8 hours at this point.
A unit of riggers is right there. I'm like, just what would they do? They wouldn't. I should have moved them away and gone for an objective, but it was like, or do I try to take out this unit that's been pressuring me all game? And he's been pressuring this unit over there. It was the butt shield, right? And I was just like, I really wanted the butt shield to go down. And so I charged it right in. I charged them right in, but I charged them at the other end, thinking he can't pile in. But these guys have like 3-inch spears or something like that, which is stupid.
Yeah.
I thought 2-inch. I should have looked again. 3 inches. So he got all these attacks, all these mortal wounds. They were like fully buffed up. These mortal wounds went through. And those guys, those wardens, he really ran those wardens well. I've not seen anybody run the wardens as well as he did. So kudos to him for that, for sure, because those things were like a menace. And I charged my general and the riggers in there. I shouldn't have. Thinking about it, I should have brought them around to one of the other objectives, away from everything. And they would have been way more useful. I would have had more models on the objective. He wouldn't have been able to take the objective in the end, essentially is what it is. So, but anyway, it came down to round 4 and 5, and he was like into the end of, into the end of round 3, he's like, let's go. He's like, there's 30 minutes left. And it was like round 4. I think it was going into round 4. And it was like, all right, let's go. He's like, I got to go. He's like, I told my wife, originally the tournament gameplay was supposed to end right now, but we started a half hour late. And so 3 hours would have taken us another 30 minutes. The guy was like, I got to go. The wife is like, you need to be here. Are you coming? And he's like, she doesn't understand, gaming all day, blah, 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 whatever. And he's just like, can we just try to go as fast as we can? And it's just like, we got 30 minutes left.
Yeah. Like, that's putting pressure on you. That's just not yeah. Reasonable. And then he's like, okay, so what would you do? Would you like charge here and shoot here and charge there or something like that? And he's like, blah, 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 blah. And he starts like gaming it. And it's like, we got 30 minutes left, man. Like, the guy hasn't even come and pressured us to end the game yet. So I'm trying to move quickly so we can try to finish this game because it's really close. And basically he's just like, all right, finally I finished the turn. I took one of the objectives away from him. I took Teclis all the way down to 2 wounds. He really needed to die. If he had died, the game would have been over. Mm-hmm. But because Teclis was still alive, he was still contending for this. I had the objective, but he was still alive. If he wins priority into round 5, then Teclis will kill this other unit, right? Yeah. And then, but if I get the priority, all of the guys, I had this like big force that just took his back objective. They would all just move over and take out Teclis, like in the shooting phase. And he had 2 wounds left, and he won the priority. So he won because he won the priority, even though like round 5 I would have gone over and killed Teclis. Yeah. He was 1 point up on me for victory points. So I lost the game. So it was close. Like, dang, so close. But that was really annoying. Like, the guy planned his day so that he would end when the tournament said he would end play-wise, but he was ready to just log off and go. And it was like, and he knew he wasn't going to win top 8 or anything. So it wasn't for him to stick around and find out if he was, going to stay in top 8. Pretty much, since he got a draw that second game, he wasn't going to be in a contender for the top 8. Mathematically. Yeah. So 83 people, I think, was the total.
Right. So you were going to end up with 8 people that were 3-0 at the end. Whatever the numbers came out. And that's what they did. So anyway, it was just like, man, come on. Just like, if you need to go, concede.
Yeah. That's the gentleman's thing to do.
Don't cut our game 30 minutes short because, you made plans and the tournament's gone 30 minutes late. So
yeah, that wasn't your fault. So
yeah, I mean, I still lost. But it's still like, it's just like, I'm ready to do this again because I'm going to get you guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You've learned some tricks and you're ready to come back.
Yeah. So it was great. I mean, to me, that's, like for me to come away and be able to have, some fun stories about how close it was. That's good. That's fun.
Yeah.
And I mean, of course, it was just fun to play. But I'm a competitive person by nature, so that just fuels me. You know what I mean? Like for it to be that close, to be kind of that nail biter, come down to like that priority roll. You know, I know it all comes down to a priority roll, right? Yeah. It's just like, so I know that happens a lot, but I like it.
That's awesome. In my third
How
game,
about your last game?
Yeah, my third game, my last game was against a guy named James Struthers. And this is the guy from New Zealand that was like, you know, he'd been up. He said he went out to the pub before coming in and starting the tournament. So he was this guy was a hard partier, and I liked it. Nice. If you listen to the Honest Wargamers channel, and he did with the guy Owen who ran the tournament, the two of them did a little list review where they talked about their favorite lists and what lists they thought were going to do well. Right away, they start talking Daughters of Cain, and he says, there's a Drachy Ganeth list, and it made me laugh cry. He was making fun of this guy, and this is the guy that I ended up playing in the third game. This other... yeah, I know. He's making fun of this poor guy. And so the guy had not won any games yet until he got to play against me. And finally, he got that win in. It was a really, really fun matchup. It was really swingy playing Daughters of Cain against Daughters of Cain. And he, at one point, that his army, the Drachy Ganeth, it's a glass cannon. Everything that Daughters of Cain does well in combat, they do exceptional. Like 2 up to hit rerolling, 3 up to wound rerolling. Like at one point, we had 2 units of Daughters of Cain, 30 models each, lined up against each other, and it was his turn to go. Just gone. He did something like 90 wounds in his attacks. I know. I'm like, he does that to me. I'm like, that's what that's like. Oh, I know. Yeah, it was pretty amazing. A great matchup. He didn't have Marathi in his list, which is too bad because it would have been fun to have 2 Marathis fighting against each other. Oh yeah. But Marathi did a lot of work for me. I put Marathi like dead center on the table, and he just he couldn't get around her, and Marathi kept tying up units so that he couldn't get away from her, which was awesome. And he spent the resources that he probably shouldn't have trying to kill Marathi because, you know, you only do the 3 a turn. My unit of witch elves that have the bladed bucklers that are really can stick around in combat, they did their job. They were there the whole game just blocking one objective. He never came close to getting my back objective, which I had well defended the whole time. And it all came down in the last turn to could I get Marathi and a unit of the winged witch elves, the life takers. If I could get them on his back objective, I would have got my auxiliary objective, but I also would have won the game if I could get it down there. And they failed the charge. Marathi couldn't kill enough, and the life takers failed the charge, so that was it. But it ended up being like 18 to 15. Like that. 16 to 15. It was something really close where if I had taken it, I would have got 3 points for it, and that would have won me the game. But yeah, like we were laughing the whole time. We're like, how many wounds? Oh my God. Just back and forth having a really good time. And he was...
Well, that's good.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It was great. It was a lot of fun. I'm very glad I didn't have any of the like heated rules debates. I just had like they were saying, I was on the beer and pretzels tables the whole time. Yeah. Nobody was too super stressed about winning or losing. Everybody was just having a blast playing. It was awesome.
You know, that's sometimes the best place to be.
Oh yeah, no pressure, you know. And once I lost that first game, good time. Yeah, once I lost that first game, it was kind of like, okay, yeah, I'm not. There's no more pressure on me anymore. I can just relax and have a good time.
And and I totally get that. Like I was hoping my last game was going to be like that, and it kind of was. It's just I wasn't like trying to be too competitive about it. I knew I wasn't going to be top 8 or whatever, right? Like at that point, it was just like, let's just play, let's have fun. And but
still, like there's some of these rules, and like we've had long into the night debates about certain rules because GW, as much as I love them, they don't make things as clear as they could be sometimes.
Right. So here's a question for you.
Okay.
So this happened a couple of times in the last game. So one, you know, it's Tabletop Simulator, right?
Yeah. Like
it's easy. Like your perspective is different. It can be weird, right? It's not usual on the table all the time. It's very narrowed. Like although you can move around the table really easy, I can come right over and look from your perspective super quick. But, you know, if you're not looking up, you know, if you're looking down at something, you could miss something, really easy, right?
Yeah.
Because there's no peripheral, right? You only see the little box that you have. And so anyway, so I know all these things about tabletop, but we're in the last game and he's doing the butt shield. There was like twice I caught him with guys out of coherency, and I reminded him like, hey, those guys need to be in coherency, right?
Yeah. Like
giving him the little bro like
hey, by the way.
Yeah, and he was even like, oh, like, do you want me to like take him off from so here it was like it was a guy right in the middle, which was a big deal, right?
Yeah.
Like his butt shield, the guy right in the middle, it was 2 inches away. It was like because you can tell on Tabletop Simulator, it's like 1.8 inches away. And it wasn't like he was knocked over or anything. But again, still, I'm like, it's tabletop. We're all moving these, trying to move them quickly and efficiently, grab what we can, grab them by groups. Like, I know it's going to happen. But he, so he was like, oh, do you want me to take some guys off from over here or take a guy off from over here? And I was like, no, it's fine. Like, I just wanted to let you know so you can get the unit back in coherency kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like, it was at the end of the turn. So it's like he should have taken him off. If it was like, if I was playing for like top 8, maybe I would have been a little bit more rigorous on that one, I guess. Yeah. Maybe. It still would have been a mental debate. Like, but then like, so I think that happened twice on that unit. And then
if it happens once, okay, but twice.
Well, it happened once on that unit. It was the other unit, he had this block of 20 sentinels, the archers, and he kept trying to like snake them back so I wouldn't deploy behind him. And he kept then like forgetting models back there as he was moving the unit up. So it's not like it kept me from deploying back there, the models that fell. It was just like at the end of the turn, like, hey, you got some models back here. You know what I mean? Like, and again, it's easy to miss those. But then again, it's also like, if you're purposely snaking these guys around to keep me from doing something,
better do it right.
What do you do? And I'm just like, I feel bad just being like, take him off. But that's me. I know I have every right to tell him to take it off.
Yeah.
But
you're a gentleman, and it's a gentleman's game.
Yeah, it is. I'm not looking for accolades so much as like, what do you guys think?
I think once is like shame on you, twice is shame on me. Like, hey, we talked about it. You got to keep these in coherency. If you're trying to block me, those guys are dead. They're gone. And I can't see myself doing the same thing and leaving them on the table. Do you know what I mean? Like if I had like, oh, you're right. You gave me a heads up. I wasn't keeping coherency. And I'm used to moving, 30 units around at a time, or like 30 models around at a time, and like trying to conga line them and trying to block corners. And it's not easy, but that's part of the game. It's an important part of the game to maintain unit cohesion and still try to cover the tabletop the way you want it to. And if you can't do both, then you don't get to do both.
I definitely missed that part about fantasy, about the cohesion of your models. Not that they necessarily have to be like in a perfect rank and file.
Yeah.
I don't know how you do that. Like 40K has done it. And the Lumineth actually do it to a point. They have like buffs for their unit where they call it like, I can't remember the name that they call it, but it's like if each model is touching it is touching 2 models, or within range of 2 models, coherency of 2 models, then you get the buff, and it's like an extra armor save or something like that.
They've got like a shield wall they've made.
Yeah, right. So if they stay within coherency of 2 other models at all times, then but the second the unit has a guy out of coherency of 2, they lose that shield wall or whatever it's called. And so there's a little bit of that, but fantasy was like, no, if I charge that unit and they're not like in 2 ranks, like this is going to hurt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so to me, I don't like the conga lines. I think it's okay to snake somebody, like a couple of guys back to touch a buff zone, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But when you take a 20 or 30 model unit and then you just snake them across the board, I'm just like, all right, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like this is not a unit. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah. No, I
have a hard time.
Sometimes I see it, sometimes I don't. I understand why you have a hard time with it. Like there's times when it kind of makes sense, like, hey, this is our battle line. We have to maintain and hold this line. You know, so I could see it thematically. Sometimes it makes sense, but sometimes it's just weird and just, particularly in that situation you're talking about, the guy's trying to do two different things at once with his conga line, and he couldn't do both at once.
Like on Helm's Deep or something, you know, you guys snaked along the
battlements.
The battlements and stuff, and that makes sense. But if we're out in the middle of the field and you got a whole unit just strung across, I just feel like they should pit.
Doesn't tickle you.
No. Yeah. But I also have an army that can move anywhere on the board. They're in improvement phase. Yeah. So, you know, take that with a grain of salt.
Yeah, but it's in the rules. You can do it.
That's right.
So just like those keywords.
That's right.
Like wizard.
Yeah. Just let's use them when they're helpful and not use them when they're not.
Well, that's not the intent. That's not the intent. That needs to be your new go-to.
Yeah.
No, that's not the intent. You know.
Yeah.
I know it's just a keyword, but
and I get trying to make that's not the intent argument, but if that's the intent, then put it in the rules. Put it on paper if that's the intent. Yeah. You know.
Right. Yeah. So. Anyway.
Oh well.
But hey, overall,
it was great. I had a lot of fun. It was still fun to play. Like I had nothing to lose. That's why it wasn't a big deal. If it was like I was defending, you know, like if it was the opposite, like a bunch of Brits coming to play in America or something, you know, like they were playing off my turf, like maybe I would felt a little bruised. But
oh man,
yeah, I know. I'm joking. It was fine.
You'd definitely do it again.
Oh yeah, I'd play the same guys over again. It's fun.
Yeah, I would absolutely love to do that whole thing again, preferably after the new Daughters of Cain book comes out. Yeah. Let's get your new game.
When does that book come out?
Pre-order this weekend, I think.
Oh yeah, they got a lot of pre-orders coming this weekend. Valentine's weekend. They're showing the love to you.
Showing the love to you. Like, hey, honey, why didn't you take me out to dinner this year? Sorry, I had to buy a whole bunch of Warhammer stuff.
No.
So much for Valentine's.
I just bought you a new army. It's a bunch of witch elves. They're like lady fighters.
Yeah. What's your favorite dollar menu items? And I'll swing through, and we'll just come back here, Netflix and chill. There you go.
Perfect. Netflix and chill. I'm gonna be over here with my crazy glue, putting these models together, but it's totally still Valentine's Day.
Right. Witch elves and chill.
Man, yeah, I would love to do that again. I think maybe like just a little bit more of a time gap, so it's more of a novelty to it. I think if I was doing 2 of those a month, it would wear me down pretty quick, because I definitely needed a full recovery day afterwards.
Yeah.
My internal clock was just completely messed up. I ended up going to bed at like as soon as the sun went down, and went to bed at like 6 p.m.
But yeah, you're right. Like doing that twice a month would be. Playing all day Warhammer takes, even if when you play it during the day, it's still pretty intense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think it's just been like, we're so hungry for it. We've been not doing this for a year, and we're just like, please.
Yes.
Give me something. And then it was like, okay, let's do it again. That was fun, wasn't it? That's why we do this. That's why we play this game.
And the build up to it too. We were like getting a lot of practice in beforehand. Having something to be excited about is just so awesome.
Yeah. So there's another tournament style coming up that I think would be fun to participate. Right?
Yeah.
Mark's like, do you like this? Do you like the abuse?
Yeah, I was going to say, you were just talking about it burnt out.
No, but let me tell you why. Yeah. This is this is attractive. So the idea of this one is they've got like basically, you know, a qualifier, and then if you win in the qualifier, you go to the playoff. 3 rounds in the qualifier, and then 3 or 4 rounds, whatever works out, for the playoffs.
Yeah, that's cool.
And but they're 1 game a week, so it's over the course of like a month and a half, and you get assigned an opponent, and then I think they have 2 options. They have play singles or team. Team is like 3 players, and singles, of course, is 1. In teams, the captain for each round, the captain would say like, this is the team member I want to play in number 1 slot. and then they draw a number 1 slot. But it's revealed at the same time, so you're not like reacting to the other person.
Okay.
So in this case, if it was us 3, and I was the team captain, and I'm like, okay, Mark plays, number 1 slot. They would choose, and then we reveal, and then it'd be like, oh, it's Mark against John Smith. And it's like, okay, then for round, for the second fight that week, it would be like, okay, I'm going to put Adam, and then they would put somebody, and then we would reveal it, right? And then of course the last 2 players would play each other. So that's how the teams work. But if you're playing singles or teams, each round of the tournament is done per week, and you just schedule the time to play with your opponent.
That sounds pretty decent.
Yeah.
And then week 2 is round 2.
Yeah, very cool.
So it's not the intense all-dayer, which those are fun in their right. But this also, because of the time zone thing, I think works out.
Yeah.
Because I think it's this is like a German-led tournament.
Okay.
And they're like 8 hours ahead. So, but now you can have people from, New Zealand to San Francisco play or whatever. Anchorage. We'll say that. New Zealand to Anchorage. No problem.
That sounds like a really great setup.
But anyway, yeah. So that might be fun. That's not until like March, what did I say? Mid-March? Or no, April. It's not until April.
Okay.
Oh,
gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think it's till April.
Is it the same people running it? No, you said it's people based out of Germany that are running it.
It is. It's 2 tournaments coming together to do the same event. And so it's not... I think the guy who did run the Hammertime one, I think he is helping with this, maybe? I don't know. I think he's helping with it.
It makes me think how lucky we are that most people speak English as a second language.
Yeah.
If we're the other way around, we don't speak German, but you can kind of expect everybody to speak a little English.
Right. And then we all can play this game together. But yeah, if they were like, yep, this is just a German spoken tournament, I don't think I could brush up on my Deutsch
that's
in time.
Yeah, it sounds like fun. I'm on the fence about whether I'm going to do that one, but I want to support you in doing it too. So if you want to get in lots of practice games, let me know. I'm down for that.
All right,
and then
sounds
just
good.
getting some games in general would be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, that Tabletop Simulator sounds really cool. And I enjoyed watching you guys play, so I'm going to have to get into it now.
And the mechanics of it, like the actual like physics of it, when I remember the games, I have to take a second to realize, oh wait, we weren't actually on the table playing. Because you get so into the pieces and the dice and everything that you feel like it really does, like a Tabletop Simulator, it does feel like you're there.
That's a cool thing about it. That's great.
And we could probably even, like, if we wanted to, just get our campaign going.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Because there's so many tables, and it's so easy to like bring in terrain and all this different kind of stuff. Like, it would be so easy to, make it fit narratively, whatever we're doing.
And if we're doing like, we start light, we start with like 500 points, we can do skirmish, and like, because so much of it's what's happening on the tabletop is actually like with the books in our hands, we can create whatever game we want to with those models and the dice and everything.
Yeah,
I think it's something that we should definitely get to work on.
All right.
That, and they also have that cooperative games too.
Yeah, and those played really fast because you and I did that one night, and it was just like bam, bam, bam. Like, we played like 2 or 3 games in that one night.
Yeah,
and sat around and bullshit for a while. It's great. It's great when you can sit around and bullshit and get some gaming in.
Yes, like now.
That
like
makes
we
a
just
good
bullshitted
night
for the last hour and a half.
Yeah. And I know there's been nights where like we've sat and bullshitted for 4 hours, and then we were like, all right, should we roll it up? And we're like, nah, it's too late. And it's like, all I did was just cart like crates of models around.
Just carry them
It would
around.
have been
for the
such
hell of
an
it.
easier job just to bring the 6-pack and be done with it.
Well, there's always that chance.
There's always that chance, exactly, of tripping and dropping your entire army and seeing it just skid across the asphalt.
Oh,
Well,
my
there's
God.
definitely always that chance too.
That is like a little bit of a fear of mine. Like,
yeah, like just the from the car to the house.
Yeah.
Like, just that ultimate danger. Plus, like a lot of times we're done with this, we're getting home at 3 a.m, and it's pitch black out. If I were to stumble and just flip over a giant tray of witch elves into the dark,
you'd be finding those for years.
Oh yeah, crunched under my tires, like
under the lawnmower.
Yep, what an absolute nightmare that would be. I'd be waking Haley up. Get out here! Get the flashlight!
Right.
Hands and knees scraping around, looking for witch elves everywhere.
Oh man, that'd be horrific.
All broken at the ankle.
Yep, broken at the
ankle. Those weak ankles.
Broken the ankles,
Such
heads
weak
missing,
ankles.
shields missing.
Yeah, you think they'd be wearing high tops with those delicate little ankles they got?
You'd think.
Yeah, some proper support. I don't know.
So Mark, I'd like to,
Yeah,
because you're not a busy man with a busy life at all.
I don't know what you're talking about. I just slum around and yeah.
We just split that Shadow and Pain box.
Yeah.
Which I need to get you your pain side of it.
Okay.
But I want to do some kind of like hobby challenge with you.
Ooh.
Where
all right.
Let's see who can be the first one to get to 1,000 points of painted models. Not like a race. Do you know what I mean? Like a gentleman's just challenge. I want to challenge you to get some.
All right. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. I've got all these snake ladies to paint, which I'm really torn because on the one hand, the snakes are so cool, but I could also convert them all into spiders.
Oh, yeah, you could.
Yeah.
Oh, damn it.
I know, what a tough choice.
That is a tough choice. It's a good choice to have, though.
It is a good choice to have.
And you're never good with these conversions, so whatever you do is just going to turn out to be awful.
It's going to be garbage.
Yeah, right.
Thanks.
Whatever you do is going to look awesome.
Oh.
You're not going to regret whichever choice you make.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. And then I can sell the snake bodies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
So somebody out there could turn their witch elves into snake ladies.
Yeah. I could definitely see some demonettes with snake bodies. That would be pretty cool,
Yeah.
too.
Oh, yeah. Like maybe they were affected by... Because in the lore, like Marathi saved all of these dark elves from the...
Yeah, from the bowels of Slanesh.
Mm-hmm.
Bowels of Slanesh. Maybe some of them got a little touched by Slanesh on the way out, and they got the crab arms and whatever.
So what about you, Nicholas? What kind of hobby challenges do you have in your sights?
Well, I've got 2 projects I want to be working on. One is to finish my Gloomspite Gits, and I got a nice base done with most of them. I did just kind of change up my idea of what I wanted to do with the list because I ended up getting one of those Dankhold Trog bosses.
Yeah.
And now I want him to be the general of my army. So I need to paint him. He's not based at all. So I need to get him based up. But I just got my airbrush in the mail.
Ooh.
Oh, nice.
I think he would be a good model to... Well, I'll practice on another model, and then maybe I'll try him. But so I want to finish my Gloomspite Gits, and that's going to be 2,000 points. But the 500 points of that could be a Mega Gargant, and I've got a little box of 3D printed Mega Gargants around here. And so that's my second project. My second project is I want to paint up one of those Mega Gargants.
Well, Mark, you've been working on your Mega Gargant too, right?
Yeah, little by little. Yeah, honestly, we haven't had a lot of time, but yeah, he's sitting here looking at me. I got thinking soon, then I'll be able to prime and then start throwing on paint.
I've got a Mega Gargant on my table too, waiting for paint.
Yeah.
Is that like a side? Do we have like 2 gentlemen's challenges?
Yeah, I think so. Let's do Mega Gargant and then what, another 1,000 points.
Yeah. But I think we do all 3 have some Mega Gargants on our table. So yeah, just a gentleman's challenge. Let's see who can get done first, and see who's got who can show their progress as we go.
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, sounds good.
I like that.
Awesome.
I'll be looking forward to seeing you guys' stuff.
Yeah. Active. I've been really active lately on Instagram.
Okay.
WARlando Adam on Instagram. and you guys are Warlando Mark
Nick.
and Warlando Nick, respectively.
That's right. Yeah, and let's start posting that stuff.
Yeah, and if you're following along and you've got some Gargants you're painted, please message us and let us know where we can look at your models, because that would be awesome.
Absolutely, I love the inspiration.
Yeah, and if you're listening to this, please do click like and subscribe or leave a comment. Even if it's a bad comment, go ahead and leave a comment. It turns out I can delete bad comments, so yeah, say whatever you want.
Yeah, and if you've got an opinion about the Warblight, about the Chemist being able to cast and be blocked by the Lumineth, let me know, because I'm ready. I'm ready to fight.
Awesome. Always great talking to you guys.
Yeah.
Likewise. Yes, sir.
So thanks for joining me for the tournament this past weekend.
It was awesome, man.
Adam.
Thank you so much for talking me into it.
Yeah, and we'll get you going. Mark, we'll get some tips going soon.
Beautiful. Looking forward to it.
What do the orcs say when they're done with a tournament weekend?
What do they say?
My dog's looking at me like, what the hell?